Scoob is the first theatrical animated Scooby-Doo movie. Well, technically, it would have been if it weren't for the coronavirus pandemic. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, Warner Brothers has released Scoob onto digital, and Universal did the same thing with Trolls World Tour, and it was a pretty big success for them. So Scoob tells the origin story about how Shaggy and Scooby met, and also how they met Fred, Daphne, and Velma, and how Mystery Inc. was formed. And then we cut 10 years later to when Blue Falcon, voiced by Mark Wahlberg, recruits Scooby and Shaggy to stop Dick Dastardly from opening a gate to the underworld and unleashing the demon dog Cerberus. And it is also the start of the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. Now, in terms of my history with Scooby-Doo, like many of you, I grew up with Scooby-Doo. I absolutely loved watching Scooby-Doo when I was a kid. I watched all the movies, I watched all the different cartoons, I even had some merchandise, so yeah. You guys can probably tell that Scooby-Doo was a pretty essential part of my childhood. And it's pretty amazing because Scooby-Doo has been around for, what, like over 50 years now? Like since like the late 1960s? And there's been so many different reincarnations and so many different revisions that it's still continuing. When you look at other cartoons like Mickey Mouse and Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry, they've been around for years and years and years, and Scooby-Doo really is not that old when you think about it, and it's still going. It's pretty amazing. And now, since you guys pretty much have an idea of what I think of Scooby-Doo, what did I think of the new reincarnation, or should I say movie, Scoob? I have some pretty mixed feelings about this film. I don't think it's nearly as bad as some critics have been saying it is. It's far from a bad movie, for sure, but the biggest problem I had with Scoob is easily the story. It is a mess. It's an origin story, it's a superhero movie, and it's the first installment in a cinematic universe. When you have all that crap crammed into one movie, it's kind of a problem. Now, that's not to say that there weren't any elements in this movie that I didn't love. In fact, the first 10 to 12 minutes with the origin story part where Scooby and Shaggy and Fred, Daphne, and Velma first meet, I actually loved that part. I honestly thought it was the best part of the whole movie. It's too bad it wasn't the rest of the movie because it definitely would have been a lot better. The animation is pretty solid also, and the voice cast was fine. Everyone did a fine job with the material they were given. And Will Forte was honestly a lot better as Shaggy than I thought he was gonna be. I mean, obviously he's not as good as Casey Kasem and Matthew Lillard, but for the most part, he did a pretty decent job. Another big problem that I had with Scoob was the humor. It was very hit and miss for me. The problem was most of the humor was filled with pop culture references. There were jokes about Netflix, IKEA, Tinder, the Supreme Court, okay, and there was also a reference to toxic masculinity. What were these writers smoking? I'm not against movies using pop culture references as long as it doesn't come across as annoying, distracting, or pandering. Unfortunately with Scoob, it came across as kind of annoying. If you want the perfect example of a movie that uses pop culture references brilliantly, it's Shaun of the Dead. Why? Because Shaun of the Dead uses pop culture references to tell the story. And it is brilliant, clever, and hilarious, and it doesn't come across as annoying or distracting. With Scoob, it just felt like the writers were just out of ideas for jokes and they just browsed through Twitter to see what's relevant with today's generation. Overall, guys, I think this is the best way to sum up Scoob. As a kid's movie, it's fine, it's cute, it's harmless, but as a Scooby-Doo movie, it definitely has some problems in terms of its storytelling. As a longtime Scooby-Doo fan, it definitely had a lot of potential, and if the rest of the movie was like the first 10 to 12 minutes, it would have been so much better. I give Scoob a C+. However, if Warner Brothers does want to go ahead and make a sequel to Scoob, as well as continue the Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe, I wouldn't mind, because I definitely do see a lot of potential with this universe. But for now, it's off to a rocky start. So, if you guys have seen Scoob, what are your thoughts on it? Or, what is your favorite and least favorite Scooby-Doo movie? If your favorite is Zombie Island, we are instantly best friends. Whatever they are, just leave it in the comments below. And if you want to see more of my videos, just be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more great content.